Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus. We are doing a quick episode on the recent developments with the rumored One Cycling Super League headed by Richard Plugge of the Jumbo-Visma team, joining a group consortium of the top teams in the sport together to create, we're not so sure, I guess people are saying Champions League style league. I don't know if people saying that know exactly what the Champions League is, but we'll get Johan's take on that, and as well as the rumored involvement from the Saudi Arabia investment fund PIF and what that means for the sport, and if any of this will actually happen, or if this is another one of these Jumbo-Visma Soudal Quick-Step merger stories that we'll talk about endlessly for months, and then nothing will actually come of it. All right, Johan, just to start, before you rip this thing to shreds, let's just try to sum up what exactly this is. It's this broken Reuters, I think it was last weekend, that there was a group of six powerful teams trying to create a one cycling, I guess, super league, professional league that would aim to bundle together races, create a calendar, I think it was 100 to 120 race days that never overlap, always starting in on Sunday, have some sort of season-long, I guess, championship series to give some coherency to the calendar, so people aren't like, I watched the Netflix series and now I love the Tour de France, but what the heck is Liège-Bastogne-Liège? Why are they racing in the World Championships? It can be confusing. I think we can all agree the calendar's it's just not meant for any type of beginner to get into the sport. It's hard to tie it all together. You have to be super obsessed with it like we are to really even understand what's going on. I think that's good. I mean, do you have anything to add on? Is there anything I'm missing here about what this league is going to try to do? And then we'll talk about the financials of how it would actually work.
Yeah. Well, I think for starters, I think the idea is good. The idea makes a lot of sense. And it's just, one other attempt to change the business model of pro cycling. I think that's the first motivation. Unfortunately, I've seen these kind of projects, several of them already in the last 23, 24 years. They all made a lot of sense. And when it really comes down to, taking action, they all fell through. And I think the same thing will happen with this one. One cycling, if I remember correctly, I don't know how many years ago, but there was a big project called World Series Cycling. World Series Cycling was the same idea, maybe also the same backers, not the Saudis, but I've heard that a company called CVC, which were formerly owners of Formula One, are involved. They were involved in the past very seriously. So the idea is not new. There's a few things that I think are difficult from the start. First of all, as far as I read and from what I've told, it's only 6 teams right now who are taking the initiative on this. It's Plugge's team, so it's called Jumbo-Visma or Visma Lease a Bike, Ineos, Soudal Quick-Step, Little Trek, Bora Hansgrohe, and EF. That's 6 teams. There's a lot more teams in pro cycling, right? So already there, I think that's a mistake. It's easy to put this project on paper with these 6 teams because you know for sure that if these teams have come together, they are like-minded and they want the same thing. So as long as these 6 teams are here, the main players, this is going to progress on paper. And then they're going to, in my opinion, get a few hurdles ahead of them. First of all, the teams that are for the moment not involved feel unhappy. I've heard that it's Richard Plugge who is at the head of this. He's the manager right now, the trending manager, right? Because he's the most successful one. But yeah, only 6 teams. I think that's not good. Initially, it's great to move forward, but there are unhappy teams, teams that have not been asked, not to be part of it, and not for their opinion. So that will create already unease. And as far as I know, that unease is real. There's been communication from non-participating teams towards Plugge, manifesting their unhappiness, and yeah, I mean, and then on the other hand, you have the other two big parties, the power parties, that are the UCI and ASO, and so whatever initiative coming from teams to be stronger, to be unified, and to get more power will get shut down or sabotaged by those other power parties. There will be manipulations. They will be bullied. Some of them will be bullied out of that unity. It has happened in the past, and it will happen again. So the initiative and the idea is great. And ultimately, in my opinion, it is what should happen in pro cycling. But as long as you have those big power parties, UCI on the one hand, which is the regulator, and ASO on the other hand, which is the big power in cycling, as long as they are not involved, and I cannot see why they would want to be involved with the teams, because right now they have the power. And you know what? I mean, if you get together with teams and go into a super league like that, it will make the teams more powerful. And they don't want that. It has happened many, many, many times in the past. So I love the idea. I think it's what has to happen. But my prediction is that it will fail.
And before you even get into why this will fail, I'm going to try to explain why this would make sense as a business, which took me longer than it probably should have. This is a little complicated. So I think the idea is, so these 6 teams, and why 6? Why would the other teams agree to this? Still is unclear to me. But let's say these 6 teams form One Cycling, the One Cycling Pro League. They go to the races. They say, we are, like Formula One. We're now like the shiny series of cycling. You are now in our series. Congratulations. We will go out. We will sell sponsorships for this series. We'll display them at your races. You no longer have to do that. We will buy your TV rights right now up front. Here's 25 million euros for your TV rights. Boom, they're ours. They bundle all these TV rights. They then go to the broadcasters, sell those TV rights. This is exactly what Formula One does. Like Formula One doesn't own the races, or at least the majority of races. Like Monaco GP is owned by the Monaco Racing Club or something like that. They've been around for hundreds of years. They're an entrenched organization, but they just sell their TV rights to Formula One. Formula One goes out to the market and sells those for them. The idea would be you bundle all this money from the TV rights, from the sponsorship. It's then distributed back to the teams. It gives them some sort of revenue stream that is sustainable, that they can make on their own. And then sponsorship is a small part of their total revenue for the year. So it would be more similar to an F1 team where they have sponsors, but they also have revenue from the ecosystem that they're operating in. What I don't totally understand, though, is why ASO. And if you don't know ASO owns the Tour de France and a lot of the other calendar. And also, I went through just as an exercise and I tried to put 100 race days together that didn't overlap. It's harder than you think. And a lot of races get cut out. A lot of big races get cut out. I cannot imagine those races are going to be too happy about being left on the outside of this. They're going to ruffle a lot of the feathers. But why would ASO do this? Like you would come to them and say, instead of you selling your Tour de France TV rights, we'll just sell them all for you and we'll give you a check today.
Yeah, they're not going to, Spencer. I admire your optimism and I admire it makes a lot of sense what you say.
It does. Yes, it does make sense on the surface.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
But so, if you look on the organization side of cycling, you have ASO, which has the lion's share of races and the majority of the power. You have RCS, which owns the Giro, Tirreno Adriatico, Milan-San Remo, Tour of Lombardy. And you have Flanders Classics, which own, Tour of Flanders, a lot, Ghent-Wevelgem, a lot of races in Belgium, right? It's becoming a big operator also. Now, I've been told that behind this one cycling project, Flanders Cycling is very involved. It's not a surprise to me because the owner of Flanders Classics is a guy called Wouter van den Houten, who has been looking for changes in pro cycling for a lot of years. When we had the project World Series Cycling, Wouter van den Houten was also involved already. So I would not be surprised if they are one of the driving factors of this project. But if you look at it, they're still small compared to ASO. Now, add to that, Spencer, that the UCI has a French president. Cycling has a president right now who basically, in my opinion, hasn't done anything for cycling at all. He's just been there. He did one term. He's doing another term, and he's using cycling. He's a real politician. He's using cycling for his own escalade, basically, towards a powerful position within the IOC. Proof of that is that he was just recently appointed as the president of the French Olympic Committee, together with being president of the UCI and, as far as I know, 9 other official positions he has.
I saw a list.
I don't know how many hours this guy sleeps in a day, but he's a genius in multitasking. But anyways, he's the president of the UCI. He's French, and he is very tight with ASO. So on this, I've seen in the past UCI and ASO not getting along, but when it really matters on this one here, they will get together. They will be together. And, teams, and no matter how much money there is behind it, it will not work. This can only work, Spencer, in one potential scenario. That if, for example, a company like PIF, the Saudi investment fund, buys ASO, then that's a different game. They may have all the money in the world, but the Tour de France and ASO, that's an institution. It's been there forever. It's super powerful. And you know what? I mean, listen, you can't blame them. They are the powerful party in this sport. And why would they share anything with a party, especially the teams, which are very volatile? Because look at it from this point of view. You have this union of teams now, this little union of teams of six teams. They're here today. Nobody knows if they're there tomorrow. The proof: Jumbo-Visma, the most successful team, were fighting for survival. So who are you actually doing a deal with? With people that you don't know if they're going to exist tomorrow. ASO is going to be there forever. UCI is going to be there forever. And as in any of those projects I've seen in the past, those two institutions, they have one thing that the teams don't have. They have time. They have all the time in the world. They don't have to hurry. They don't need to fight for survival. And they always play with that card. Whatever there is, let it come. We have time, guys. Sometimes they enter into a little negotiation, and then I always compare it to, like, for example, the Netflix initiative. Yeah, great show, great for the public. The teams, I don't know. I've heard that they got 50,000 per team or something, which is it's ridiculous, basically, for a project like that. But I always compare it with a school teacher who gives little sweets to the kids to be happy for to be quiet for 2 or 3 hours. This is the same thing, Spencer. The same thing happens. They give little sweets now and then. Okay, you know what? Let us have access to the images and the audio from the radios, By the way, we give you 5,000 euros. 5,000 euros they gave per team. It's an insult, but the teams accept it. And this is going to be the same thing. They're going to sit and wait. And as long as they are not in the driving seat, if ASO gets to be in the driving seat, that's a different game. If they are just proposed to be a part of it, forget it. Not going to happen.
I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about why this won't work, and I would agree with you on 99% of it. And I do kind of want to I do think there's like one wild card here. I want to qualify the PIF involvement. There's been a lot written and said. People are already outraged. The Saudis are taking over cycling. We should just go back to the nugget of why we even know about this. It was a piece written in The Guardian. The quote is, PIF is cited by sources as a possible investor. I mean, we know who that source is, by the way. We won't say it, though. But a possible investor. That
I can say it.
Do you want to say who that source is?
All the information. If you look at the people who brought the information, it's Jeremy Whittle, Daniel Benson, Julien Preto, Laura Weislow. All of this information comes from one person, Jonathan Waters. He's the manager of EF. He's involved in this project. He wants it to happen. And I can also tell you, he is one of the leakiest persons in pro cycling. I've seen it in the past. There's been many of those projects. One person has always leaked the information. Always the same guy, Jonathan Waters. So this information comes from that source. 100%.
Let's just say, allegedly the source, but let's just say he is the source. I don't understand why he's leaking this. I don't think it's in their advantage for this to come out right now. I don't understand the strategy there, but let's just possible investors. So this is like Jonathan Waters maybe told Jeremy Whittle that PIF could be an investor. Does he mean that like they physically could be an investor? Like there's nothing stopping them? Like that would be true, but I don't know if it means that they're locked down on this. And frankly, this doesn't seem like a PIF move to me. The PIF move is to buy ASO. That's what PIF does. PIF does not.
Spencer, you know what? Anything which is we'll say oil money, but especially Saudi involvement, it's never going to be about sponsorship. It's always will have to be about ownership.
Yeah.
They don't want to sponsor. They want to own. And so from that point of view, I mean, I know that there's been discussions with PIF, but there's a lot of other people, a lot of other projects, a lot of other sports projects who have been talking to PIF. And, as I said, there's only one way that this can happen. If PIF buys ASO.
Well, here, so go with me on this.
They can buy it. They are able to buy it. Now, the question is it for sale? Which is another question, and which, in my opinion, is not an easy answer.
Yeah, there's a book called La Fric about the family and people trying to buy it. I would recommend it if you want to know more about if it's for sale or not. But let's just go with me on this magical thinking. Let's say PIF does invest. They give Ineos, Visma, EF, Bora, Little, Soudal $1 billion to go out and buy all the TV rights in the sport. They do. The other teams would probably just even if they're unhappy about it, they would probably say, well, if these guys are going to bundle TV rights and make money and give that money back to us, that seems kind of nice. Maybe teams would go along with them there. Here's the second option. What if PIF, and I agree with you, by the way, that I think the only thing, nothing's going to happen until someone buys ASO. ASO probably won't sell. Therefore, nothing will probably happen. But let's just say PIF buys RCS. You would say strategically in a weaker position than ASO. ASO's done quite well for themselves. Same thing with Flanders Classic. They've done a really good job in the past 10 years of going from a regional race to kind of reimagining their big race Tour of Flanders into, I would say, a better course. People were upset when they made the course change. But let's just say PIF buys RCS. Now that they own the Giro d'Italia, now the Giro d'Italia is in July. And now you get, if you're Tadej Pogacar, you get a $20 million start fee just for showing up. Same thing with Jonas, 20 million. Van der Poel, 20 million. Wout van Aert, 20 million just to show up at the race. Now you're the dominant Grand Tour and you're squatting right on ASO's turf in the middle of July. Like, that's actually, in my mind, the PIF move. That's exactly what they did with Live to really just puff themselves up to try to weaken ASO to make them sell to them.
Yeah, that's I can see your way of thinking. It's not going to happen, Spencer. The Tour de France is the Tour de France. It's been around forever. It's there's just not enough people involved. I mean, look, and then politically also, if you look, and this is exactly what's going to happen. Whatever union there is now, these 6 teams in the one cycling, then you have Velon, there's 8 or 10 teams that they're trying to do business together. All of those unions will get shut down because the UCI, and they're very smart at that, officially only recognize one official union. It's called the AIGCP. It's the Association Internationale des Groupes Cyclistes Professionnels. First of all, it's under French law, number one. And it's the only officially recognized body representing the teams. And why? Because there's so many members, and they know that there will never be complete unity and solidarity. And everything always comes down to that same thing, AIGCP. It's a union that's supposed to be representing the interests of the teams, but it's an instrument used by the UCI to break the unity. And it has happened over and over and over again, and it will happen again. All the teams that are not involved right now in this one cycling idea or project have already, through AIGCP, manifested their unhappiness to Richard Plugge, who, by the way, is the president of the AIGCP. Let's not forget. Richard Plugge is the president of AIGCP, and all of the members, except 6, are protesting because of this one cycling. And the UCI is there sitting, okay, guys, we've done it again. We've done it again. Let them play, let them fight. Then will come a moment, we'll give them a little sweet so they stay quiet, and it's the same thing over and over again. So, listen, I'm just telling this based on what happened. At some point, it will happen. It's always the same. It's never possible until somebody does it, right? This will be the same thing. Something will happen. I think the most important thing that should happen in cycling actually is that, as in a lot of other sports, is that professional sports, professional cycling should be separate from the UCI except for the regulations. The UCI should be the governing body only for the regulations and should never, ever, ever be able and entitled to be involved in the business of the sport. So pro cycling should be a pro cycling league, but they have to adhere to the regulations. But then, as any organization would do, then they would probably adapt the regulations so that they remain in power of the business of the sport. But pro cycling should be a professional league, that's the first step. That should be the first step for any of those projects to have success. Professional cycling should be an independent professional league, and then you can start doing other stuff.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It needs to be a league. Like, think of the most successful sports in the world or leagues in the sport. They're not being told what to do in their business matters by Swiss bureaucrats. Like, FIBA does not run the NBA. The NBA runs the NBA. FIBA can set international basketball regulations. They don't tell the NBA what to do on a day-to-day business basis. Same thing with like the English Premier League. They're a business. FIFA is in charge of FIFA matters, but they're not telling the Premier League what to do. I mean, you never want these organizing bodies. Like, think of like a really messy sport like track and field. It's probably because they're so tethered to the Olympics that they're not really able to create a pro league.
The same thing here. If professional cycling would care less about the Olympics, that would be an amazing first step.
Yeah.
To take away the power of the UCI, because the UCI has power through their members, and the members are the national federations. And so if pro cycling realizes that, and they don't care. I mean, and actually, which professional cyclist cares about the Olympics except the one who wins the gold medal? Nobody. It means nothing. The road race, the Olympic road race means nothing in professional cycling. Nothing.
Well, and not only does it mean nothing to cyclists, every time the Olympics are on, everyone I'm watching with goes, well, I didn't know there was cycling in the Olympics. Like the general public, it does not, I don't think it fits together with the Olympics at all. I think it should be like soccer. It's like a U20 event for amateurs.
Yeah.
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 So I couldn't agree more on that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you agree with like Plugge's, let's say, thesis here that cycling needs a better calendar, needs to be more organized? Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. There's too many races, way too many races. I mean, just, having these teams go and force them to go in the month of October to race a 7-day race in China. I mean, come on. Nobody watches it. There's nobody there. They get paid peanuts to go there. That's just one example, but there's too many races at the high level, and you can't have these races overlap. So that's one of the really good ideas of this one cycling is, to have the best riders in the best races at the same time. That's the key.
Yeah.
But that's nothing new. That World Series cycling 20 years ago was exactly the same thing. So,
wasn't there like a World Cup? You obviously remember this, like the World Cup races?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at one cycling, right? One cycling, it basically gets back to what Hein Verbruggen started in 2004, which was the Pro Tour, the UCI Pro Tour. You got, as teams, you got a license. You were entitled to be in these races, and the best riders were supposed to. So ultimately, the Pro Tour evolved to the World Tour, but now is a mess. But the idea is not new, nothing new. It's 20 years old.
Yeah, I love the idea. I do think that unless you buy ASO, you're just gonna hit the same dead end. You have a good point about the other teams. Why would, if you're not in these 6 teams, why would you go along with this? Like, what's in it for you? I don't completely understand that.
And also, Spencer, look, let's just hypothetically, right? Let's just say, okay, Jumbo-Visma, Ineos, Soudal Quickstep, Little Trek, Bora, Education First. Let's just take those 6 teams. Yeah. And those 6 teams are unified. And they say, you know what? If you don't follow our idea, we're not coming to the Tour de France. Do you think the Tour de France cares about this? The Tour de France is going to happen. I've had discussions with back then people who were at the head of the Tour de France, and they went as far as saying, you know what? If you guys teams don't want to come, it's fine. We're gonna do the Tour de France with national teams, like we did 50 years ago.
I honestly think the Tour would prefer it if these 6 teams didn't come, because it means a French rider could potentially win the Tour.
Well, that's another story. But it's interesting to see that UAE is not part of this.
I know, and that did stick out to me.
Yeah,
where are they? I am out of my depth on this, but can they really? Do they partner with PIF? Does that get messy? I don't
know. It's listen, we don't have enough. We're just guessing, right? But bottom line is that there's the unity that is now amongst those 6 teams has created division with the other teams. And when it really comes down to the real moment, both UCI and ASO have the power and the resources to break that unity, even amongst those 6 teams.
Yeah, I agree. It's good to be the UCI. If you ever have the option to be UCI president, please do. It seems to be a very low job. You can have 9 other jobs and you get paid a nice salary to go to a couple meetings every couple months.
And you're even invited to the Ballon d'Or, the golden football, Messi one. I could see David Lapartien being there all cozy with Prince Albert of Monaco. So it's a good gig.
It's a good gig. Yeah, the UCI, chapeau. They've done a great job of embedding themselves in the sport. ASO, I do think people give ASO a hard time. I mean, they at the end of the day, they are kind of a family business. They're not,
and they run a business, and they're doing an amazing job at it. You like it or not, they have the power, and put yourself in their position. Why would you want to give up that powerful position if you don't have to?
All right. Well, in short, we applaud Richard Plugge and his idea. It's a good idea. Unfortunately, it's probably going nowhere, I think is how we would sum that up.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Johan, and we will be back. Well, who knows when we'll be back? Maybe something will pop up about this in the next few weeks that we have to jump on and comment on.
Okay. Speak soon.
All right. Well, thank you. Bye.